Kelvin, you talk to us all the time about the very specific way you schedule. What did you hope to accomplish here with a bit of a break between games, and how were you able to use that time with your team?
Well, I didn't schedule the break. That just shows you one of the flaws in playing a 20-game schedule versus 18-game schedule. There's some teams that already played 11 or 12 games, and we're sitting here. What are we at? I don't even know our record. What is our record? 6-3. So we played 9 games. Most teams have. If you're in an 18-game conference, some teams are 16-game conference. They don't have breaks. We've. I think the ACC is a 20-game conference, and I saw where Jeff at Pitt played on November 4th and didn't play again until November 14th. That's one of the flaws is being able to schedule or schedule through all those breaks. So we play at Oklahoma State on December 30th. We played 2 games a week basically for 10 consecutive weeks without a bye week. So we have no bye weeks. We have 20 conference games. So that's 20 games from basically January 1st until the first week in March. Now, the first week in November until December 21st, I guess, we'll play 11 games. So that creates it. But what we want to accomplish is just every day try to get better at being a team, have an understanding of how it is we want to win, continue to get better on offense, continue to push the pace, continue to know who we're playing through and how we're going to get them the ball. I think that's the biggest thing is just offense isn't something that you're going to walk out there day one and just click, especially when you have a new point guard. It does take time. But I've seen improvement. Hopefully, our kids will have good carryover from practices to our games. We have a really, really good team. And I think we have a lot of room to grow to be that team. We're not that team yet, but I think we can be. I mean, the ingredients are there. It's just a matter of getting a couple eggs in that recipe so we can bind it together and continue to get better.
Thank you, Gregg. We'll go to Joseph Duarte from the Houston Chronicle. Joseph, please go ahead.
Hey, good morning, Kelvin.
Good morning.
Kelvin, as you go into the last stretch here of non-conference play, can you kind of assess or maybe take inventory on some things so far that you've liked, maybe things that during this next stretch of games or the next month you'd like to see the improvements in?
Yeah, I think defensively is just being able to guard multiple actions on cue. Teams sometimes we're really good at the things that we work on. The NBA is kind of going away from a lot of pick and roll basketball. It's more 5-out now. Memphis, if you watch Memphis play, they don't set a lot of ball screens. They just play 5-out. Well, college still sets ball screens. So you got to be able to, most important thing defensively, as far as guarding a team action is the ball screen. Now, when you start taking actions away, where they use those ball screens, then they start spacing you and driving you. The thing that drives me absolutely nuts is when we foul with single digits on the shot clock. So I think little things like that, Joseph, we've got to get better at. The details, the little things. We've always been pretty good in those areas over the years, which is why we've had the sustained success we've had over a long period of time, is that we're pretty good at the things you never notice. Free throw line blockouts, for instance. we have not done a good job of that this year. So all the things that I see that we need to get better in, this break, although it's unintended, has given us time to work in those areas. I think it's very much a work in progress. The negative right now is we're practicing more than we're playing. And sometimes that can be, I don't know if annoying or frustrating is the word, but when you play a game on November 4th and you're sitting here on December the 8th, 17th, and we've only played 9 games. The only way we're going to get better is not that practice is counterproductive, but at some point you've got to go work, see if this stuff is working, is develop some on-court chemistry during the game. There's only so much chemistry that can come from practice. JoJo needs to play against somebody other than Seth Lott and Javier Francis. LJ needs to play against somebody other than Malik and Mercy. And I can go down the line. We need games. Now this week is welcome because we play tomorrow night. We turn around and play Saturday, and then of course we have another big break. We play on the 30th. But starting the 30th, there is no breaks, and I'll probably be wishing we had a break around the middle of January or middle of February. But I like this team. I can see where this team's going to get better, but you can tell it takes a while to get there. Playing Alabama and having a chance to win the game. That shot goes in, we beat Alabama. If we hold on to a 5-point lead with 4 something to go, we beat Auburn. San Diego State, we're up 11. So how do we get better from those experiences? But I like our kids' work ethic, their attitude, all the stuff you guys roll your eyes at is really, really important from a development and coaching standpoint.
Kelvin, the meetings that are held in Arizona in May where the coaches get together, is that the time to bring? I know you talked to the commissioner, but in terms of the league schedule, is that something that'll probably be brought up again with whether you?
Oh, you better get that stuff done way before the league meetings. It's too late then. If you're going to get these things changed, I mean, we're in the process of doing that right now. I've had really good conversations with other coaches in the Big 12 to explain why we need to go back to an 18-game schedule. It's not just because of the breaks; it's just having the flexibility. We're every day. I hate it when people say every day. We've had a lot of opportunities presented to us, probably once or twice a week, of playing a game at Madison Square Garden or playing this TV game where the Hawks play in Atlanta. We get a lot of those opportunities. But when you're tied into the Players Era Tournament in Vegas as 3, now you only have 8 games left. We played a Big East Big 12 Challenge. Those are 4 games that are scheduled that I can't maneuver around. So now you have how many is that? 7 games left. Well, over 7 games, you better understand you're going to play 20 games in one of the best leagues in the country. So you better figure out how to balance your schedule out. Whereas if you play 2 more conference games, that gives you a little more flexibility to maybe go do the thing at Madison Square Garden or go to LA and play a team that TV would like this matchup. And we've been presented a lot of those made-for-TV games that's been going on, but we have to say no to them because we don't have the schedule flexibility.
Thank you, Joseph. We'll go to Matt Thomas next, please. Matt, please go ahead, sir.
Coach, good morning. 2 questions. One on what you were just talking about. Look, the reality is you're probably going to do these NIL things like you did in Vegas, probably in the future. Is there any thought from college basketball in general to add 2 more games so schools can get some buy games.
Yeah.
You can get some yourself. And then on your team, LJ's got 3 straight 20-plus games. Is this something different? Are you seeing something different from him in the last 2 weeks that you didn't see maybe in the first 5 or 6 games?
Well, to address your first question, Matt, there's probably not a sport that has evolved like men's basketball over the last 5 years. We've all had this this tornado or cyclone thrown at us with the portal and NIL and recruiting, and when the portal window opens, when it closes, and it's amazing to me how everybody goes crazy when you get a portal kid, or you don't get a portal kid. It's just added another layer of excitement for the fans, and that's good. But being able to change around it, for the life of me, I don't know why we can't, in the last 2 minutes of the game, move the ball to half court. For the life of me, I can't understand why that is a rule. Because we've always done it like that, it's not a reason to continue to do it. If we can let kids transfer anytime they want, as many times as they want, then why in the hell can't we move the ball up to half court in the last 2 minutes? Just like adding the shot clock, you'd have thought, how many years ago that was, shut the game down. Game's going to change. Well, we have to continue to evolve everything, including how many games we play. Why did we settle on 31? Why can't we play 40? Why can't we play 35? Why can't all the schools in the state of Texas have a jamboree in August or September and scrimmage each other a half? Take Texas San Antonio, Rice, Texas Southern, Baylor, Tech, whoever, and have an opportunity to do that in every state. We've got to think outside the box with where we are as a sport and try to figure out how to catch up. Can you imagine the NIL money we could raise in the summer if Texas, Houston, Baylor, and Tech did a 1-day or 2-day made for NIL event where we play each other in the scrimmage? But the rules don't allow us to do that. But because of NIL, we better start thinking outside the box, because donor fatigue is real. Finding dollars that aren't there is real. So how do we find these dollars? Well, get creative. Figure out what we can do in the summers. Think about the NBA Summer League. I coached in that thing for 6 summers. It's one of the greatest out-of-season events the NBA's ever had. What do we have out of season? Why can't we have something out of season? If for no other reason, to raise money. People would pay to see that. I'd rather do that and raise the money through that approach than having to ask people over and over to please donate. I'd rather have the flexibility to go raise the money ourselves in an event that will raise money. And you're able to develop your young kids more. Winning and losing doesn't matter to me in those deals. It doesn't matter. Play all your guys. Give your fans a chance to see our new freshmen that are coming in. I bet you we would pack whatever gym we held it in, and we should have it in the gym that has the most seats. You don't want to have it at Baylor or at Houston because we only have 7,000, 7,300, whatever it is. You would want to at an arena that has the most seats where we have the best chance to raise money. But I think, I sit around all the time. Kellen and I are always bouncing ideas off each other. We got to get off this 20-game schedule. We got to get off this 31. We're only going to play 31 games because that's the rule. We didn't change the rule. You put in the portal. You changed. You allowed us to pay players. Why can't we move the ball up to half court? That seems kind of benign, but it helps the game. it makes it more exciting. So, we have a window here because of all the whirlwind dynamic changes that has been made to look at other ways that we can change and help our game. At the same time, help our athletic departments and help our budgets and be in a position to continue on with this NIL path that we're on that will help everybody. Now, some states, like when I was at Washington State, it's a little more difficult. But you have Gonzaga, which is 82 miles away. You've got Kansas, Wyoming, not Kansas, but Idaho, states that have very few Division I schools. That might be a challenge. But why not do it with NAIA schools? Why not do it with Division II schools? So I think there's ways to do it, but I think we have a moment in time right now where, with the powers that be, to go to them and say, look, we didn't ask for this portal. The NIL was thrown at us. We've all accepted it. We've all objectively have supported it 100% and understand the need for it. But given the current rules that we have, we don't have enough opportunities to fund our player budgets the way they need to be funded. So how can we do that? Bring August into play. Go from 31 to 35. If not 35, then 31 to 34. Then incrementally push it up. Think about when the NCAA tournament was 24, 32, 48, 64. Now they're talking about adding 76. We're in a season of change. We're at a time in the history of our game where change has affected so much that we need to continue to evolve. So I hate to get on my soapbox about that, but that's my 2 cents. What was the other question you asked, Matt? I'm sorry.
Yeah. LJ's got 3
LJ,
20
yeah.
points.
Yeah, that's a great point about LJ. LJ really has made an unbelievable commitment to being the senior leader. I think he's embraced that. We prepare for the moments when everybody's watching. When we prepare, nobody's watching. So I see these kids when nobody else is seeing them, and I see our improvement. Now, you want that improvement to come during the games, and I think it will. But some of our improvements already apparent, and that's goes back to what you asked, Matt, about LJ. LJ is a little bulldog. He has completely changed his personality, his competitive spirit, his toughness. He has made a 180 since he's been here, and I can't be more proud of him.
Thank you, Matt. We'll go to Chris Baldwin with Paper City, Houston. Chris, please go ahead.
Hey, Kelvin. Casey was saying that he thought that the shape JoJo came in, the good shape he came in has been a big part of the start he's had to this season. How were you guys able to get him in that shape, coming off the foot? And what does that say about him? And what are some of the improvements that the biggest improvements that maybe we don't see that you see in him?
Well, I think the thing that really helped JoJo was we went to some low impact training to help with our kids with the longevity of the season. So we invested in these Versa climbers, and our kids don't like the Versa climber, which means I like it. But JoJo really worked hard on that. Coach Alan Bishop, he does an awesome job individually with our kids' individual needs. Not every kid is on the same wavelength as far as power, strength, explosiveness. So he does a applicable workout to the individual. Now JoJo and Terrence, LJ and J1 all had off-season surgery. So their off seasons were different. J1 was the first one back. LJ I think, was the second in late July, and then Terrence and JoJo was more August and September. But JoJo's a hard worker. A lot of people will take credit for JoJo doing this, JoJo doing that, but let's give the credit to JoJo. He's the one that did it. And he is a tireless worker. And when he started in September, he was so out of shape, rightfully so. I remember when Emmanuel came in here with his surgeries, he ballooned up to almost 230 pounds. He's just he's a chubby kid. He had surgery, couldn't work out, couldn't do anything. JoJo and Terrence gained good weight. Terrence got up to over 200 pounds. JoJo got up to almost 240. But those kids are hard workers. JoJo is easy kid to coach. He does, again, I use my brick wall theory. If you ask JoJo to run through a brick wall, he'd say, Coach, can I get a running start? And those kids are the ones that tend to be the hardest workers.
We'll go back to Joseph Duarte, please. Go ahead, Joseph.
Kelvin, in honor of Chris Gardner not being on the call, just want to ask you about Toledo. Seems like Sonny Wilson and Sam Lewis, the two guards, a lot of it starts with them. Is that a fair assessment?
Yeah. Well, let's start with Coach Todd Kowalski. Todd is remember Ray J. Dennis, the starting point guard for Baylor last year?
Yes.
Well, he came from Toledo. Toledo has lost their best player, seems like one or two players every year because of the portal and NIL. But they've also been their league champion for the last 4 years. The MAC traditionally is a great basketball league, great coaches league. We played Kent State with Rob Senderoff here a few years ago and very easily could have lost that game. I mean, they outplayed us, and we were very fortunate to win. Had that game been on the road or a neutral site, we probably would have lost. But the team that won the league that year was Toledo. So this is an outstanding program. They've got excellent guards. They run about 167 sets, almost impossible to scout. But we've kind of tried to look to see who they get most of their shots for and what actions they run to get that player the ball. But everything starts with their point guard, Wilson, who's their second leading offensive rebounder, believe it or not. Their leading offensive rebounds, their big kid Simmons inside, big left-hander, big physical kid. But this team goes as Wilson goes. Now they've got guys like Lewis. Hubbard comes off the bench, but he's one of their better guards. Adams, kid that we're familiar with because he played against us when he was at Central Florida. Isaiah.
Checking him for 1250.
What's that? Isaiah Adams was a starting wing for Johnny Dawkins at Central Florida. So we're seeing him in his last year. Very good offensive team, very creative, run great sets. They're fun to watch. Todd does an awesome job. Toledo's got a great, rich basketball tradition. And I think Toledo's really, really lucky to have Todd as their coach. He's one of the best coaches in the country, I think.
Got time for a couple more questions. We'll go back to Chris Baldwin, please. Go ahead, Chris.
Kelvin, Luka called Quentin Grimes one of the best catch and shoot players in the league the other day. What's it been like, for you seeing Quentin sort of take another step this year with the Mavericks?
Nobody's worked harder in the offseason. Quentin lives in this gym. I think we've had 8 guys here that we've recruited that's played in the NBA. And they've all had their moment in the sun. But Quentin's on a team that can go far. What the Rockets have done here's M.A., who I worked with in San Antonio when he was with the Spurs. I go back to there with him. You know, I kind of thought that when Tillman hired him, that he was the right guy because he's no nonsense. I remember that when he was playing for the Spurs. Very serious, very mature, clear understanding where he's headed. I coached against Jason Kidd for 2 years when I was at Washington State. Those young coaches that played in the NBA, look at Jason. What kind of player he was: tough, gritty, smart, winner. Look at him, the kind of player he was. He had the fact that he had a long career, I think, says a lot about the respect coaches had for him in the league. But Quentin, every day in the summer, in his group, he always some of our former managers come in and help him. Ryan Elvin's in there every day with him, but he's got his workout guys too. And it's just not once a day; it's twice a day. And I used to tell Quentin, when you get out of your own way, you're going to take off. When you quit trying to make shots instead of just shooting it, because he works too hard. I see how hard he worked in here. All our NBA guys use our facility, as well as a lot of Rockets guys. A lot of Rockets guys come over here in the summer and use our facility. But nobody, and I mean nobody, has worked harder on their game. Jarris Walker comes through. Obviously, Jamal's here. Marcus is here. Damian Dotson, who played for the Knicks, still comes through. Josh Carlton, Fabian, Justin, Dejan. All our guys come through. We have so many guys playing professional basketball. But I would say the one that's impressed me with his work ethic the most is Quentin. And it's so rewarding. And it's such a blessing to be able to see somebody that has poured their heart and soul into their craft and work as hard as he has to now have it pay off for him. And he's a great role model for our kids in our program now because they see him in the summer. They see how much he's in the gym. He jumps in 5-on-5 games. He jumps in 4-on-4 games. He practices with us on Thursdays and Fridays. He just jumps in there and does things. So for Luka to say that, I'm sure that just makes Quentin's confidence and belief in himself just go off the charts because, Luka's one of those generational players and Quentin's in a great spot. When I talked to the Mavericks when they were working, trying to acquire Quentin, they wanted to know what are we getting, and I think they're getting exactly what they thought they were.
Thank you, Chris. Last two questions. First one will go to Joseph Duarte, please. Joseph, go ahead.
Kelvin, I don't know if you saw yesterday, but Pop sent out a update about his progress and how he's doing. Even managed to throw in a joke about his rehab staff learning how he's less than coachable during his rehab process. It just, giving your relationship with him, just to see the progress being made and hopefully him getting back to the bench sometime soon.
I don't know how many weeks ago it was, but I was at home and Karen's got this little botanical garden thing going in the backyard, and she loves going back there to work. But there's a big circle she's got paved, and it's kind of, you can do a lap. So when somebody calls me, I usually go outside and just start walking and talking. But the phone rang, and shock of all shocks, it was Pop. And I said, "What are you doing calling me, man?" And he had watched us play, and he wanted to talk about that. He was talking about Mitch Johnson and Brett Brown and the other assistant, Matt, talking about his staff. He was just so effusive in his praise for his staff and Wemby, and he talked a lot about Castle. What a godsend Chris has been for the young kids as far as leadership. We just talked basketball, and I asked him how he's doing. He's listening to his doctors. He has doing his rehab from his incident that he had. But it was just great to talk to him. He is he's been such a gift to so many people over the years, and he's such a giver. Just one of the true gentlemen and great coaches we've had in our game, and I'm blessed to have a relationship with him. I have.
Thank you, Joseph. Last question of the day will go to Ryan Hollins. Please, Ryan, please go ahead.
Hey, Ryan.
Forgive me, I'm going to ask you something similar to what I asked last time.
No worries.
You have, Coach, you have the vision through your experience of like, hey, like this is what it's going to look like in March. This is what championship looks like. These are the shots you're going to get. You talked about not fouling in possessions, all those little nuances and difference between winning and losing.
Yeah.
What are the things you're kind of driving home to these guys now that they maybe some of the younger guys maybe don't get? That, hey, like if you're going to play or we're going to win, this is what we have to do. And maybe from a coach's perspective, how hard do you drive that home now? And just say, some of the things you may get tighter with later as the season progresses. So more of kind of like a now and a later, because I know you're looking at, championships and league runs and those things, right now. So what are those factors, Coach?
I think one of our weaknesses so far, Ryan, is the inability to get easy baskets. And I think that's something that we're getting better at in practice. Is some days I'll play with a 15-second shot clock. So misses, we got to go get a shot within 15 seconds. That means we're not running plays, we're playing out of space. And then I'll add another 5 seconds to it. Then I'll add another whatever's left. But J1 is an outstanding playmaker, not off the bounce, off the pass. So being able to play through him more, being able to catch teams in closeouts. Like we may not be able to size people up and whap, beat them off the dribble and get in the paint and go get a shot like Jamal did, or Dejan Giroux or Galen. Like we don't have that. Okay, fine. That doesn't mean we're going to put our uniforms in mothballs and call it a year. We just move over. And that's what we've been working on, is trying to find a way to play through J1, play through JoJo a little more, play through Javier, who's coming along, and closeouts like Terrence. Terrence is not a whack guy one-on-one, but he can attack a closeout, get in the paint, and make a play for somebody. So can Milo, so can LJ, so can Emmanuel. So being able to maintain our spacing and hold our spacing. And then when we're getting through the paint, is chase space. Get space. Don't clog it up, because we're trying to get the ball moving so we can attack closeouts. Just keep hitting the iron with that. That's an area we've got to get better at. And the other area too, Ryan, is giving up offensive rebounds. That's something that's been bothered me with this group so far. You can trace our 3 losses back to offensive rebounds.
Who has to be good, Coach? Who has to step up?
I think the guys that need to improve the most in that area is all of our bigs, J1, JoJo, and Javier, but also Emmanuel. Because Emmanuel is usually guarding the 3-man. The offense, I'm not going to get into specifics. I'd like to, but Kelvin told me I have to move on, so I will. But, a lot of times LJ's maybe guarding the shooter and Milos is getting back. Okay, so these teams are sending 3 people to the O boards. Well, that means they're 3-man scoring. So we've got to get better at that detail. Is space on offense, playing out of space, playing really working hard to get a shot earlier in the shot clock. And then doing a better job of checking out on box outs and holding those block outs. It's not enough to just go hit him. You got to hold it. So if there is a blessing about having all these days off, it's allowed us to concentrate on one thing at a time. So we'll all of a sudden we become the best blockout team ever, and all of a sudden we're going to score 90 points. No, that's not the way it works. I wish it did. But I think we're going to continue to work on those things and get better, and that's the goal.